Hey, good morning,
Are you
Mark.
you're doing
Oh, I think that's caught us
good
by
morning.
surprise. Morning minutes episode. Where's the camera? 6:01. Um, Good morning, Mr. Novak. How are you today?
Excellent you.
Excellent, Mark. It looks like you're out and about in the wilderness, living out of a shack at the moment, or you're
I
on your
am,
morning
I
walk.
am.
On your morning walk, out and about.
You've got a superstar story to tell that made you cry.
Yeah, pretty close, and I'm not going to deny that for a second. It was intense. So yeah, this morning's topic was Tale of the Sale, 8 Venetia Street, Sylvania, a listing that we took on that's just sold Monday evening. Um, yeah, so that's a pretty interesting story, I think, from the fact that listing it as an out of area agent. It was an auction campaign which we'll go into shortly in a moment. Mark, where would you like me to start? Or where would you like to start?
Sorry, I got a really bad line towards the question.
Where would you like to start with that? So I was just saying it was the auction campaign from start to finish. You saw my emotions on a roller coaster through that campaign. Probably since I've worked in real estate, I'd say that's probably the most that any singular campaign has affected me as a whole, for good and for bad. And I know it drove you up the wall for a moment, but we managed to get it over the line. It was a great result in the end, but there was a lot in between market and sold and now to get the job done. So what I was going to say was, where would you like to start with that Venetia campaign?
I want to start with why. How does that happen with a property with a real estate agent? How does it happen that a property can sell, go to auction, pass in at a number like oh
25.
4,050,000? What did you have at auction?
4,025. 4,025.
And then
And
how does it happen? Like,
so
yeah,
what
how
I
does it
do,
happen that
let's
you can get to that 4.2 price with like, it doesn't make sense.
So let's give the audience a little bit of context. I'm going to share the screen across over to page number 2, and I'm going to show you guys the property itself. So we're Northern Beaches Agency. I know most of you will know that, but Sylvania is about an hour and 10 minutes away. So it's different and an interesting one to work on for a lot of different reasons. But you can see the sort of grandeur of this home. So this is something that I felt very lucky to be able to work on, and it's a whole other kettle of fish from the Northern Beaches selling at the moment. So this is an awesome home.
Incredible.
Um, it was an auction campaign. And I'll just go back one step. It came off selling a one-bedroom apartment in DY, which was the
Yeah,
amazing thing about it. So it came off a record sale that we managed to make a couple months back, and then this was what followed. So it goes to show when you do a good job on one, those clients can become repeat clients and they can refer friends, and that's where the business starts to grow. Um, Now, the question of the day: how do you get past it at auction and then sell for more? At auction, that's the market talking. On the day, we only had 2 bidders, Mark. We had 6 or 7 people that were wanting to come through the property. Sorry, wanting to bid at auction. Had all indications that they all were. And then on auction day, in the afternoon, still looking good until we got to registration, and we only had 2 people sign up when I was expecting, as I said, maybe double or triple that. So it was a slow auction. There were only maybe 7 or 8 bids. It didn't go very far. Um, Passed in a 4,025,000, and then we sold 6 days later for closer to 10% above that level. So it was an intense negotiation, to say the least. We had the underbidder on the day, or the last bidder before it got passed in. He ended up being the eventual buyer, but we had some hiccups with odd buyers coming into the fray and really just sort of throwing everything off the rails, which isn't at all unusual. I think we find that in all circumstances. If you've got some people that's still interested, timing just isn't always right with people. And sometimes someone will have everything together. Sometimes there'll be someone that is genuinely interested in the property, but just can't get their bits and pieces in order. But what they'll do, they'll try and keep themselves involved, and that then I have to relay every single piece of information back to the vendor, and it just threw us off the rails. Luke, I remember you wanted to know if it was an investor or an owner-occupier that purchased the property. It was an owner-occupier in the end. I think it would have been amazing if it was an investor, but yeah, interesting property to be looking to invest into. Before we quickly go into it, Mark, emotional. Yeah, Luke, I was all over the place. Anmal, good morning. Love selling out of area. Have you sold many properties out of area, Anmal?
Hey, Emma.
It's the type of thing we do take on properties.
G'day,
outside
Jeff
of our
Luby.
area. Good morning, Jeff. And you're right, ours was on the line. You have even more to prove when you're selling out of area as well, I think, because you don't want to look like the fool who takes on a property, doesn't know the market there, and then undersells or doesn't get the good results. So to be able to smash it out the ballpark when you're not known in that area whatsoever, you can either be zero or hero very, very quickly. Not to say that it's a hero move, but it was a good result in the end. Did you think it could get there? Yes, I did, Luke, all the way, because it was popular throughout. But you do lose a bit of confidence, or you go up and down in the ebbs and flows of your emotions, where you're excited for auction, then it passes in, it goes very, very quiet. There's silence and tumbleweeds rolling past. But to negotiate up after an auction 225k mark, I think that's part of the point of the conversation today. When the market talks, that's what the buyers would usually say. The auction told me that the property is worth $4,025,000. Why should I pay a cent more than that? And we've had this before as well, Mark, when we sold 7 Morgan Road in Belrose. We sold that for, sorry, I'll go back. It passed in an auction for 4.3 and we sold it for 4.8. So miracles.
Well, that's right. That's another one.
Strong negotiations at auction with the auctioneer, post-auction with your strongest buyers. That one happened straight after the auction. This was a week of tiptoeing around, going back and forth from buyers, and just incrementally it was worked up and worked up and worked up. And when you've got at least one, when you've got 2 parties, that's all you need so that you can tango effectively. And it was just one of those ones that slowly you roll it up and up and up, and it just takes. It's a war of attrition.
And James, I also think going to the auction, turning up to the auction is really important, because sometimes agents get a bit sick over the campaign, feel like shit, can the campaign, and then they lose that momentum that they've gained and that finish that they were going to have. So even if it doesn't actually sell under the hammer at the auction, you got to stay positive, head high, work with the buyers, get a result hours or days, weeks after the auction. Same thing happened with 22 Churchill that we just sold. So 22 Churchill was on the market, went to auction, happened to actually with another agent. We took over that Monday from the agent auctioning on the Saturday. We had a result 2-3 weeks later. So I think you've got to be shrouded with positiveness to get a result as well.
Yeah, and I think that's again, it's a part of the many challenges that you have during a campaign. It's not a straightforward, it wasn't a straightforward one at the end of the day. These things do take time, and it's the commitment. And I certainly know that one of the things we've talked about and we've looked at in depth, the pros and cons of continuing on to the auction, even if you think you have no one there for the day. As opposed to the lazy agent way, which is I've got no one, panic, cancel the auction, and then just go into private treaty negotiation.
Yep.
You're doing you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the vendor at the end of the day. I think an agent cancels an auction because they're scared it's going to get passed in and they think it's going to tarnish the job that they've done. But again, it's just not a reflection necessarily of the agent, I wouldn't say. I think at the end of the day, it can happen and then it can be a positive step or platform for you to move on and progress into the sale. Because then I think at the end of the day, you're giving yourself a broader perspective as to the feedback the market's offering. The vendor knows where he stands further, and then you can really start to close it out from there on. But without the auction, you don't have that public, open, sort of free selling of the property, the description of the property, I should say, sorry. I probably could have worded that nicely. Is there a struggle to hit the reserve because of buyers or sellers? Look, I think so. I think that, and I'm sure any agents on here this morning would probably agree that over the last 6 to 12 months, we've had such high levels of capital growth within the housing side of the market as opposed to the apartments and the rest, that the vendors are expecting that every property that sells is going to be a record price, and everyone then thinks, well, so-and-so got a record price, that means I'm going to get a record price. So vendor expectations and sentiment is absolutely through the roof. So there is a higher expectation to hit the buyers harder. The sellers have a higher expectation of where they sit. And I think that's possibly been one of the struggles that maybe a lot of other agents have found in the last sort of 6 to 12 months, that the expectations have changed from people drastically on both sides. And I think Mark will agree with that as well, just because a year ago you might be positioned at a level, and now all of a sudden you're 20 or 30% higher.
Yeah.
And a year ago you would have been absolutely comfortable to release the property at X price, and now, it gets 30% higher and it's still not enough, which, fair enough, you can understand the emotion behind it and the sentiment behind it. But yeah, I certainly do think that it has been a bit of a struggle. And the buyers and I think the market is more attuned to it at the moment as well. How's your signal going there, Mark? Can you hear?
Yeah, pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
I get about every 15th word, but anyway, all good.
On the morning walk down in the eastern suburbs, eh? All right, I don't think Mark is able to hear us too well this morning, guys, so I think we'll have to wrap it up there. Mark, do you have anything you can... last one for Luke. It can't go to catastrophic price. It's got to level out a little. I think so, and I think we're probably seeing a ceiling now.
Yeah, I think you're right, Luke. It's definitely going to be leveling out shortly. Yeah, I can feel it in my bones.
And you know what? I think, as you said a moment ago with that Churchill sale, I think that's probably a reflection that there still is strength in the market, because there are still, like, that property passed in at that auction at 2.5 or so, and then you've just gone and sold it for just under 2.9. So again, you just have to have someone that's truly working on it, doesn't give up the cause as soon as it gets passed in, because there's a lot more opportunity for the strategy to come into the campaign at that stage as well. So you just got to make sure you know that your agent's commitments are aligned with yours. And I think passed in auction or not, it is possible to achieve a great result after auction. It doesn't burn the campaign. If anything, it's a platform to step onto, but you have to take it as it comes. Mark, would you like to say anything before we head off this morning? All right, guys, thanks very much. We will see you. We'll see you next time. Thanks.